Hi, everyone. It's Kevin Carter, Executive Director of Teatown. We scheduled this TAN Zoom, Town Hall Zoom, to talk about our Cliffdale special use permit renewal. And we're going to go ahead and run through this deck that our team has prepared. We don't have anyone that's non-Teatown on the Zoom right now, but we decided that it would be very useful to go ahead, record the presentation so we can post it to any interested parties through our website, our YouTube channel, and on the TAN. And then, of course, I want to say at the top that the various team members and colleagues that are with me here represent the expertise and the leadership in the different areas that the presentation will address, whether it's education programs, stewardship and land management, and our managing director, Alan Sorkin, and myself would be available to answer any questions that any neighbors may have after viewing this presentation. If they would like to follow up with us, we're happy to meet with anyone individually. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our managing director, Alan.
Thank you, Kevin. Hi, everyone. As Kevin said, my name is Alan Sorkin. I'm the managing director here at Teatown. With me is Emily Edmonds Langham, our director of education, and Tom Almendinger, our director of stewardship. Between the three of us, we hope to impart all the information relevant to the Cliffdale special use permit renewal that is before the Cortlandt Town Planning Board as we speak. So next slide, please. So today we'll talk about our plans for Cliffdale Farm. We'll go through all the exciting educational activities that we have there during the entire year. Then Tom will take us through our meadow management plans and what we have in store there to revitalize and continue to improve the wonderful acreage that's at Cliffdale. We've already been through one meeting with the Cortlandt Planning Board, and that process is ongoing. And our intent was to provide you this town hall and briefing before the public hearing, which is yet to be scheduled, but will be coming up probably sometime in November or early December. And then we'll give you plenty of time at the end of the presentation for Q&A, or as Kevin said, feel free to reach out to us directly. Our numbers and emails are on the website. Next slide, please. So we are applying to renew our special use permit. It's renewed every 5 years. We've had this permit ongoing since 1996. And so this year, it's a little bit different. We're going through a historic renovation at Teatown. The Nature Center is currently closed as we speak and will remain closed most likely for 10 to 12 months is our best estimate at this time. So with that, we're looking for swing space and the ability to utilize Cliffdale a little more than usual, but we're going to take you through that in detail. And we actually expect that the peace and tranquility along Teatown Road will remain as undisturbed as it has ever been historically. And so the permit itself includes a request for the meadow restoration and tree removal activities that have been ongoing for some time and will continue into the future. An expansion of the educational programming that will be swinging from what normally happens at the Nature Center to Cliffdale. And at the same time, those of you who have been to our Raptor Loop, we have temporarily looking to rehouse the wildlife at Cliffdale in temporary mews that are set up within the Cliffdale Garden. Next slide, please. So Emily will now take you through the educational activities and the swing activities that we intend to have at the Cliffdale shelter.
Thank you, Alan. I'm Emily Edmonds Langham. I'm the Director of Education at Teatown, and we are just delighted to share the kinds of activities that we get up to at Cliffdale Farm. It is really unique habitat to the rest of Teatown. So there's special things that happen there, and we're just thrilled to be able to think about how to use it both during this interim time and into the future. But the goal of our educational programming is really to build positive attitudes towards nature, and Cliffdale is a huge part of that. So to give you a broad brush of the kinds of things that we do up at Cliffdale, one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle is our K-12 school field trips. We have a number of very popular programs that happen at Cliffdale, whether it's exploring our pollinator garden. Some of the flowers grown by one of our longtime volunteers are pictured here, where we're teaching children about the value of beneficial insects and how they can work to preserve and protect those essential parts of our ecosystems. Or we are exploring various ecosystems at Cliffdale, or participating in some learning about the indigenous peoples of Westchester. K-12 field trips are a big piece of what we do at Cliffdale and have done for many, many years. We also are hoping, as part of this renewal process, to relocate our Grow Wild Outside after school program. So this is a program that is in partnership with the Westchester County Youth Bureau, funded by them, so that we can bring kindergartners from Ossining to have rich outdoor experiences in a way that they might not necessarily get either at home or at school. So this is a twice weekly program for the school year, and would be hopefully temporarily relocated in the after school time to Cliffdale for the duration of the project. We run a portion of our summer camp at Cliffdale. So pictured here are this summer's campers doing a little bit of birding. And it is a wonderful place to do camp, where children are with us for 8 weeks out of the summer and are catching frogs and making art and having a grand old time. We send them all home muddy. And so Cliffdale is a huge part of that. The camps that are based at Cliffdale are summer nature girls, and also our earth stewards, where young people are just getting their first taste of designing a research project and executing that. Even if they're 8 years old, they really can start sinking their teeth, especially into citizen science. So camp is one piece. Nature Girls, as I mentioned, we have a summer chapter of Nature Girls, but we also have an after school program that operates in a couple different ways. We have a chapter in Peekskill and a chapter in Ossining that are both grant funded to serve young women who might otherwise no longer see a place for themselves in science. So 5th grade girls from Ossining and 4th and 5th grade girls from Peekskill. They are not based at Cliffdale, nor will they be necessarily during this construction phase, but they do visit up there occasionally. And so you might see a school bus or two making their way up to go visit the unique habitat at Cliffdale. And public programs. So these are largely for either a family audience or for adults. The types of things we get up to at Cliffdale: we have a longtime board member, Charlie Roberto, our bird and moth whisperer on the right, showing actually camp kids, but he does this for the public as well, some moths. And then on the left, we have some intrepid birders, a mix of staff and public, going out and seeing what they can find. So bird walks. But during the renovation period, we are also hoping to do some maple sugaring up at Cliffdale. Because our sugar house will be squarely within the construction zone. And so we want to keep that grand tradition alive. And so are proposing moving that kind of activity to Cliffdale, but nowhere near on the scale that we do at the main nature center. There will be no sugar house. We'll be just having things over a campfire, just to get the sense of how people have engaged in this practice for many hundreds of years. And that is really it for me. So I'm going to pass it over to Tom to talk about the meadow management.
Thank you, Emily. I don't have any cute kids in my presentation. I'm sorry about that, but I do have some pretty birds. So the first slide is a nice orientation shot. This is just east of the parking area at Cliffdale. standing on Teatown Road, looking north. Just an orientation shot. Next slide, please. I want to emphasize though that although this is a new piece of a permit, it is a continuing work that's been going on for a long time and actually was on the previous 2020 permit as well. Meadows require annual and long-term maintenance to keep them in that state. And I do want to highlight that we did receive two current awards/grants from Con Ed and Land Trust Alliance of New York in the amount of $115,000 combined to do this work this year. And it includes controlling invasives in the meadow and under the hedgerow, as well as removing parts of the hedgerow and continuing to remove parts of the hedgerow that was done in 2020 and replanting with native plants in the meadow to enhance biodiversity. Next slide. I do want to just touch base on how our strategy and our philosophy about how to manage these meadows works. We do have an integrated approach. We do selective mowing. We use targeted herbicide by licensed professionals, continuing the hedgerow removals, which will increase habitat viability and value, is huge. Native species preservation, so we protect established populations that are there, and enhance by planting and harvesting seeds and propagating them in our own native plant garden for restoration in those meadows. We use a phased approach. We prioritize high quality areas, and then we systematically work through the more degraded sites. And hopefully, and at the same time, we also peel back the edges and keep the exotic plants at bay. We have an annual maintenance schedule. There's different ways to manage meadows. You can graze them, you can burn them. The method we have been using and we are currently continuing to use is mowing, and that is usually done targeted in late winter, early spring, say like March. This is to stimulate germination during the early spring. Also prevents woody plant growth, which would then not be a meadow. But it also allows the insects that we're trying to support to emerge and to continue their life cycles. If you mow anytime earlier in the winter or the fall, you can destroy those populations. And finally, we like to soften the edges, the interface, the ecotone between the meadow and the woodland by gradually like interspersing shrubs and other plants there to increase ecological value and create habitat for wildlife movement. Next slide, please. The two species here are really our target conservation species. The one on the left is a bobolink, a male bobolink in particular, and the one on the right is an eastern meadowlark. They are considered a declining species in New York by the DEC. This is due to habitat loss by either land conversion or ecological succession, i.e., abandoned farmland succeeding into forest. In North America, so they may not be threatened or endangered yet in New York, but across North America, the breeding bird surveys since 1966 have shown that grassland bird populations have experienced the most devastating losses of all bird guilds. More than 40% of them have declined overall since 1966 in overall abundance. Next slide, please. It may sound counterintuitive to remove trees. A lot of people think, why are you cutting trees down to increase ecological value? But remember, not all habits are created equal. These species that require open spaces actually are averse to trees. And so what this slide is demonstrating is the different agencies and groups that have recommended that throughout New York and yours truly. There's the state agency, the DEC, recommends in their habitat management guidelines for grassland birds to increase field size by hedgerow removal is beneficial to grassland species. The Grassland Bird Trust which is just south of the Adirondacks, and has worked with Fish and Wildlife Service and other groups. They say the best action a landowner can make is to improve conditions for grassland birds is to remove hedgerows. Even on Long Island, at an old land trust, they removed a hedgerow that bisected the site, which diminished the value of their habitat. And I authored a paper with several other researchers after 20 years plus of research on grassland wildlife using LIDAR, which is light detecting and ranging. It's a remote sensing 3D modeling that can be done with satellites and planes, and can give you an idea what your topography is, and it can also. So we used basically what our information showed after 20 years of bird research is that most grassland bird species will not nest within 50 meters of a hedgerow or a woods edge, which in the future slides you'll see why that can be a problem. Next, please. So these are two aerial shots of Cliffdale. One on the left is from 1926. And the one on the right is 1995, obviously. What this really illustrates is how the habitat loss I was just discussing earlier, and the compartmentalization of these fields. So if you remember what I said just last slide, if you have 50-meter buffers to each one of those hedgerows and each one of those woodlands, you pretty much have zero core habitat. Whereas in 1926, you probably had a lot more grassland birds here on that site because if you put a 50-meter buffer on that, you still have probably 50 acres of core habitat there. So there's quite a bit of difference. And the minimum for these birds is 15 acres. So what we're doing, next slide, please. Um, what we're doing is essentially removing that 50-meter buffers by removing the hedgerows and increasing core habitat. The shot on the left is from 2007. The shot on the right is from 2023. Post the initial hedgerow removal, you can see on the southeastern corner of the L shape where Teatown curves. They removed that in 2020. And so this is basically just a bird's eye view, pun intended, of the visualization of creating more core habitat for these meadow habitat. Next slide, please. And this is an illustration of what we're proposing to remove, continuing the work that was done in 2020, which is basically just almost a mirror image of what they did in 2020, the crew then. But this increases overall core habitat size and also removes a huge repository of exotic plants that rapidly spread and outcompete native plant communities within that neighboring area. Next slide, please. And this is just to give you an overall view of the what will be 15 plus acres that we need now for the minimal acreage. We were focusing on for this project. These are the 15 acres we're focusing on. There's a chunk that you see in the southwest corner that is not outlined. That is privately owned, but we do manage with their permission to be compatible with the habitat that we're creating there. So that's all I have.
Okay, so now I'll take you through the specifics of the special use permit. Next slide, please. So what you're looking at here is the actual permit language from the town of Cortlandt. This is the permit that's expiring on November 30th of this year. It limited the number of school buses to 80 per year, and it limited our ability during the winter months to have buses and programming at the Cliffdale shelter. There are limitations on the staff vehicles and chaperone vehicles, but I can say with current programming that we've always remained under these limitations. Historically, there have been chickens. There are chickens no more, but you'll see that we're asking to temporarily house the raptors in lieu of the chickens that have been there in the past. Next slide. So the current permit, as Emily alluded to earlier, we're asking to allow the maple sugaring and the Grow Wild outside after school program activities to increase the number of buses that we will have during the construction period. This will raise us from 80 to 120 with a max of 3 buses per day, 4 cars and 2 chaperone vehicles per session, and a max of 2 sessions per day. When you do the arithmetic, you're still looking at less than a bus per school day, and typically we'll have 2 and no more than 2 to 3 buses per day. Next slide, please. We're also asking though to expand into the winter months. So that would be December, January, February, and traditionally we opened Cliffdale again, mid-March. So we're looking to house that swing space as we talked about before. and it will increase during construction, but then it will revert back. But we're also asking if we can continue to keep the shelter open for these months in perpetuity with some modest programming with no more than about 15 buses or 5 buses per month. Just so you're aware, we are quite frankly very aware of the topography and the narrowness of Teatown Road. Already historically, all our buses are routed to come in from the Quaker Ridge Road area, not from Spring Valley Road. And that's worked very well for us. And so we plan to continue that instruction set to the busing companies and the school districts. And they've typically been extremely cooperative with that. As far as snow days and inclement weather, Teatown has always had a very conservative policy. So if any of the districts that we serve delay or close, we delay or close. So at Cliffdale, if we're granted the ability to work through these winter months, and quite frankly, we've had snow as early as October, November when we've already been operating. If Cortlandt, Newcastle, Yorktown, Assoning, and/or Croton, if they delay, we'll delay, and if they close, we'll close. And frankly, based on our own assessments, if we consider, because we have a lot of commuters, that come from as far as the Bronx and up north, if we feel it's impeding the safety of our staff or the kids that are going to come visit us, we will close as well. Next slide, please. So this is a chart that we've submitted to the town of Cortlandt. It shows the actual buses per month in the second column, the 2024-25. This is based on fiscal school years and what we're anticipating we'll see in the coming year and through the duration of the permit through 2030. So the big takeaway from this slide is we had a limit of 80. We actually only had 72 buses come this past year. This next year, we're anticipating it will go up to 140, which is 90 with the day programming and the after school program. That's typically, after 3 and ends before 5 o'clock for a total of 140. But then once construction ends, we'll revert back to 95. And the difference between the 80 and the 95 is the 3 months of incremental programming that we would have during December, January, and February at 5 buses per month. So from our vantage point, it's a very modest increase. We do not anticipate the neighborhood would notice the 1 or 2 incremental buses a day that would be coming. And it would be just a wonderful way for us to continue the good work that we do with all the local school districts. Next slide, please. Public programming, we will continue to do the public programs that Emily described. These are not bus activities. These are typically adults or kids are driven by their parents. We currently had a limitation of 16 per year, and we are planning to maintain that number. So this part of the permit is not changing. But again, we find that there's great demand and the public really, really enjoys the bird walks and the talks that, that our experts give at the unique habitats that Cliffdale offers. Next slide. The Raptor Loop needs to be emptied due to the construction. So 10 temporary mews have been constructed. These are temporary cages that are sitting within the enclosed garden fence just in the front of the Cliffdale shelter. These are all fully permitted from the local and federal regulators. And again, this will include the birds and raptors that have been, just behind the nature center historically, as well as a couple of the mammals that were housed inside. Next slide, please. So that ends the presentation. We realize there's no one on right now that availed themselves of this opportunity, but we realize people are busy and We realize also that people may have interest in what we're doing and what we're up to at Cliffdale. So please, if you have any questions after watching this video, please reach out directly to Kevin, Emily, Tom, myself, and we'll be happy to either meet with you or answer your questions on the phone. So thank you, everyone, and good night.
Yeah. Thanks, team. And as Alan said, reach out if you have questions. I'm happy to talk with you.
Okay. So you can